Hello, it's Rebecca and today is another book review day, and this is my 39th book that I have been reading for the 2015 reading challenge. I will put a link down below in the description box to explain what the challenge is about, but basically it's to read 52 books over the year, with each book coming from a different category. And the book that I've been reading this time comes from the category of a book your mum loves. So this time I have been reading Pet Sematary by Stephen King. So I will read you the blurb and then talk to you about the book. The house looks right, feels right to Dr. Lewis Creed. Rambling, old and comfortable. A place where the family can settle, the children grow and play and explore. The rolling hills and meadows of Maine seem a world away from the fume-choked dangers of Chicago. Only the occasional big truck out on the two-lane highway growls out an intrusive threat. But behind the house there's a carefully cleared path up into the woods where generations of local children have processed with the solemn innocence of the young, taking with them their dear departed pets for burial. A sad place maybe, but safe. Surely a safe place. Not a place to seep into your dreams, to wake you, sweating with fear and foreboding. Okay, so this isn't technically a book my mum loves. It's an author my mum loves. My mum has read all of Stephen King's books and she has liked, I'm going to say 99% of them. There have been a couple that she hasn't particularly enjoyed. She read this one when she was about 19 and she said it terrified her. So I thought I'd give it a go. I've tried to read Stephen King before and just couldn't get into it. And she said this one was frightening. I vaguely remember seeing the film, but not enough for it to really play on my mind while reading this. However, now, if you are a Stephen King fan, you may want to switch off now, because this was terrible. Oh my goodness, how does this man get published? He is such an awful writer. I tried to read, there we go, Rose Madder, ages ago, and his lack of interesting vocabulary just stopped me dead on. He used so few adjectives that he was just repeating the same things over and over again, and it just became tedious. And he does it in this one. The word big? Seriously, Stephen King? Big? Do you even own a thesaurus? It seems like he struggles with description and uses the same simple words over and over again. And I'm not saying that he needs to use complicated words that nobody understands, but there are other words than big. And one piece that just jumped out at me, and I had to make note of it because I was so genuinely surprised that this was allowed to get through the editing process. And Gage was so astonished. Gage is Lewis's son. I will get onto that in a second, but I just had to point this out. Gage was so astonished at this tearful lecture that he left off crying and goggled up to his mother, astonished. Did you hear that? Two astonisheds in the same sentence. Huh? Okay, so I'll tell you the story and then I'll tell you why I didn't like it. So Lewis and Sarah have moved from the hustle and bustle of the big city to this quiet house, or this house in a quiet area, with their two children, Ellie and Gage. And Gage is about 2 and Ellie, well, she's school age, so she must be about 5 or 6. And they live opposite an old man called Judd and his wife, whose name I have forgotten. And the only thing that Judd warns them about is that the road can get very busy with big lorries and trucks driving along them. And a lot of animals have sadly been killed because of these lorries driving up and down at great speeds. And there's no real fencing around the houses, so cats and dogs will run out into the street and then get run over and killed. But Judd does take the family on a walk round the back of Lewis's new house, into some fields and into an open area that has been entitled Pet Sematary, where children of that area would bury their dead pets that were killed on this highway. And it's a very crude graveyard. It's been made by the children. There are spelling mistakes on the gravestones and obviously a spelling mistake on the title of Pet Sematary. But that kind of gives it quite a cute little feel about it, that it is just for the local people and whatever. And one day, Ellie's cat, Churchill, gets run over by one of these trucks that is driving super fast along the road. And Lewis knows that she will be heartbroken. She dotes on this cat and it's her life and she just loves it so much. And Judd tells him that something can be done. And Lewis is a bit curious, but he wants to make sure that his daughter is happy. And so Judd takes Lewis and Churchill past Pet Sematary, even further back into these fields, to another cemetery that was built by Native American Indians. And any animal that was buried there came back to life, but not quite as the owners knew them. So in order to make sure that Ellie doesn't find out that Churchill has been killed, he buries Churchill in this super special graveyard that is quite spooky and hears voices, and it takes a bit of time to get there, and you have to kind of climb over trees and up hills and all this kind of stuff. And Churchill comes back to life, but he smells and he isn't his normal self, and he brings dead animals into the house, and he's not the loving cat that they once knew. And this goes on for ages. That's one of the reasons I didn't like it. It's nearly 500 pages and at least half of it could have been cut out. It was so unnecessary. And then tragedy hits and their little boy Gage is playing out on the front garden, runs, gets hit by a truck and is killed. I won't say what happens, but you can kind of guess. Oh, I don't even know where to start. Like I say, it is so badly written. It needs a good editing. It really, really does. There are a lot of unnecessary words, a lot of repetition, huge chunks that really need a thesaurus. And I was thinking this morning what I was going to say about this, and way back at the beginning of the year, I think the first book that I read for this challenge was a Mills and Boon book that was badly written, like so badly written. I would put this on a par with a Mills and Boon, with the style of writing and the lack of attention to detail and the lack of care with language. It is just so dreadful. The story is okay, but I wasn't frightened by it. My mum says that she was very, very young and naive when she read this, and she was living on her own and in a dark house and all this kind of stuff. So she found it frightening, probably more due to her circumstances than the actual book. But I found it so dull and so predictable and so unnecessary. It really, really is. And it constantly tells you what a great storyteller he is, and after reading this I've yet to see proof of a great storyteller. I know he's written hundreds of books and probably there are some that are amazing, but I honestly, I just got so frustrated. I just wanted to take a red pen to everything. None of the characters are likeable. Well, tell a lie, Judd is the only one who is likeable, but still there's something a bit sinister about him. The fact that he tells Lewis about this special graveyard where animals come back to life is not a particularly nice thing to do, because he knows full well that he's going to put the cat in there and the cat's going to come back to life and it's not going to be the same. And it dragged on. It really, really dragged on. It picked up within the last few chapters, I will say that, but a huge chunk out of the middle could have just been sliced. Completely unnecessary. Yeah, I'm not going to recommend you read this. If you're a Stephen King fan already, you would have read it, but if you're not a Stephen King fan, I wouldn't even bother. I may read some more of his books in the future if I feel so inclined. So very, very disappointed in this. And yeah, sorry all you Stephen King fans, I know you're probably going to hate me. But it's opinion. Freedom of opinion. And my opinion is, do not read this. Do not waste your time. This has taken me over 3 weeks to read as well, which is sad. I mean, it's quite long and I'm a slow reader, but too long, too much time out of my life waiting for something exciting to happen. And it does within about the last 10 pages. Read the last 10 pages, don't bother reading the rest of it. So, if you'd like to hear any of my other book reviews, then please subscribe to my channel. I put new videos out every time I've read a book. I occasionally give writing advice and share bits and pieces from my own writerly world. So if you're interested in that, then please subscribe to my channel. And I will see you soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye.